After the hour, America, it's Hugh Hewitt, joined now by once and future Senator from Virginia, George Allen. Senator, I just had your governor on, and he is fired up that the president has killed 20,000 jobs by vetoing the Keystone XL pipeline. What say you?
Oh, I'm fired up, and a lot of families across Virginia, across America, are paying unnecessarily higher fuel costs and higher food costs because of our counterproductive energy policies, and this is just another example of and it's just a continuation of these counterproductive energy policies that are punishing working families and small business owners. And my opponent, Tim Kaine, is supporting this. He wants to be President Obama's senator. I want to be the senator for the families and small business owners of Virginia. And I guess that Tim Kaine and President Obama would rather be having our men and women being sent to the Middle East to defend oil from there than build a pipeline and have jobs here in America.
You know, Senator, when I was down in your state in Norfolk, I was over at the naval base, and I saw all those ships, and I thought how much fuel the Defense Department budget must use and what the savings would be if we could develop our own gasoline to fuel our planes, our destroyers, our carriers, as opposed to buying it up from the world market. And I am astonished at this decision. It is so stupid a decision.
Well, you bring up the national security issue. One point, the military armed services use more energy than anyone else.
Yep.
And half of it's the Air Force.
Yep.
The carriers are nuclear powered, so that we ought to have more of our ships nuclear powered.
I'm talking about the jets that take off. They use up a lot of gas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, half of it is used by aviation from the Air Force. The other thing is energy is a national security issue.
Yep.
And here we are paying higher prices, higher premiums now because of the worry of Iran and disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz and so forth. Well, Canada is a reliable ally, and this is a good source of reliable oil to our country, which would mean we'd be paying lower prices and not being vulnerable to these, whether it's a cartel or a theocracy or some dictatorship around the world. And the reality is that we're paying higher prices, not just for our gasoline and our diesel. It affects all our farmers. It affects our food costs, the products that we have. If we unleashed our American energy resources, there'd be hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs created. We'd have more affordable energy. We'd be a more competitive country. We'd be keeping money here in the United States of America, and the government would be generating over $1 trillion in revenues without raising taxes. So to me, this is just such an obviously political decision, putting the interests of politics ahead of the interests of the American people.
I'm talking with former and future United States Senator George Allen. His website is www.georgeallen.com. Join the army of Allen supporters across the United States who realize the Commonwealth Senate race will be the key to the Senate. Senator, I'm a well-paid media figure, and so when I stop at the gas station like I did today, and I pay $70 to fill up my car, it hurts, but it doesn't cripple my family's ability to survive. I do not understand how a president of the United States can veto anything that will possibly bring an additional supply and make it easier for working people who are stretched to the max and poor people who are already there to afford fuel.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Hugh. The people who are hurt most by these counterproductive policies are lower and middle income working families, particularly those who live in suburbs and in rural areas that have to drive long distances to work and to ferry their kids around to various activities. And it's in many respects an elite point of view, because the people who are hurt are not the ones who jet off to Cancun, Mexico for a UN climate change conference. They can afford it. It's working people. And I was just talking to a woman just the other day, just saying, my goodness, every time I fill up, it's costing me now $75 when it was costing me previously $40-some-odd to fill up. And she has a long drive, and she's saying, it's getting so that people are having to cut back in a lot of different ways, and just trying to make ends meet. And the reality is you and I envision a better future, and it doesn't have to be that way. And if we utilize our plentiful resources in our country or access those from our friends in Canada, we'd have more affordable energy. It would affect our entire economy in a positive way.
By the way, I now want to tell people to go over to georgeallen.com because they're going to love this Obama and Kaine, one in the same mirror ad. I really like this ad, Senator, and I'm wondering if Tim Kaine is going to try and separate himself from the president on these ruinous energy and EPA policies, or is he sticking close to the guy that made him?
He's sticking close to the guy. We finally got him to make a statement. He was silent through this whole Keystone pipeline issue all year long last year, and now he's come out in favor of the president's decision.
Wow. In Virginia.
Yeah, in Virginia, and it's an example of him, as I said, wanting to be a senator for President Obama. And I think we ought to have a senator who cares about the families and small business owners in our state. And he's straight off of President Obama's talking points, and it's more of this absurd political posturing that is just more foot dragging from Washington.
Now, I always encourage the audience, because $50 matters in a Senate race, $100 matters. GeorgeAllen.com. How is the fundraising, and what do the polls show right now, this far out from November?
Fundraising is going all right. We raised over $1 million in the fourth quarter, which was good, and Tim Kaine hasn't reported yet, but he has a lot of donors, having been chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and so he'll get a lot of money. President Obama's buying ads already in Virginia. We're a key battleground state, and that'll help out the Democrats. But we do need to raise money, because we're in the eye of the political storm here in Virginia. Polls have it real close. The most recent one was a Quinnipiac poll, had me up by 2 in Virginia.
Boy, ground game.
It's going to be close the whole way through.
It sure is. George Allen, thanks for joining us. We'll talk early and often throughout 2012. 2012 is a time to make a difference in a race that matters. So if you're sitting in a state without a Senate race, go to GeorgeAllen.com and get involved, or at least watch the ad. Obama and Kaine, one in the same. It's a pretty good ad. It's over at GeorgeAllen.com. Thank